It's a new month, so it is time to take a look back and see what happened in the real estate world in the last month. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of RE Radar. As always, I'm your host and realtor, Nathan Mathisen. And if you're new here, first off, welcome. What RE Radar is all about is education. And we want to be a space where people can learn helpful tips and tricks about real estate. So whether you're a future home buyer, a current homeowner, a person looking to sell their home, someone looking to get into real estate investing, or just real estate at any point in their life, this is a podcast meant to help you. Today, how I'm going to be doing that is through looking at the real estate market in May. And the stats that I'm going to be pulling up are from my local market of Seattle, and they're going to be looking at residential homes, so no condos. And without further ado, let's just jump right into the info. And if you're not new here, you know where we always start these episodes off at, and that is looking at the median sale price because people love to see the price of a home. And here in Seattle, the price for a home is a lot. The median sale price for a home in Seattle in May was $1,025,000. That is up 3.7% year over year and also up $40,000 from April, which is about a 4% increase. Now, the sold price gets recorded when the home closes. And on average, a home closes in about 30 days. So a good portion of these homes sold in May with this median price will have been listed in April, which April is typically seen as the start of the spring market. And that is when prices get a nice bump, which is what this data is showing. Home prices took a nice little bump as we got into the spring market, which of course the spring market is the highest priced market for a home. Now this year, there's been a lot of talk about how home values are down. And while that might have been the case in the earlier months, this past month's sale price are showing that a home in Seattle is still a very valuable asset that should be sought after and is sought after. Now, as prices are up, what about that seller activity in May? What is going on with the sellers? And well, the sellers, they're slightly down. Nothing to sound the alarm about, but the numbers for sellers were slightly lower than maybe one might have predicted for a traditional May market. To see seller activity, what we're going to be looking at is the amount of new listings. And in May, we saw 1,107. That is down 5.9% from May in 2025, which is just 69 less listings. And then it is also down from April by 23 listings. So it's not drastically down by any means, but it is down. And typically what we do see is more listings in May than April. So May being less is slightly abnormal, but it is not like we dropped off a cliff with 300 or 400 less listings. It was simply 23 less than from April. Now, just because the new listings didn't necessarily keep increasing, that does not mean that buyers are losing any sort of potential negotiation power that they had gained from the start of this year, as there are still plenty of homes for sale on the market. In fact, at the end of May, there were 1,496 homes for sale. That is the most homes for sale since June 2019 in Seattle. So buyers, you've still got options out there. And guess what? The interest rates fluctuating and all that outside noise in the news most certainly did not scare away the buyers, as buyer activity was strong in May. To see that activity, what we're going to focus in on is pending sales, as those are the homes that got under contract in that month. And in May, we saw 669 pending sales, up 10.2% year over year and up 62 from April. That also is the most we have seen in a month since June of 2022. So those are kind of the main stats right there that I have for you on the sale data. Those help paint the good picture of what we are seeing in real estate. And now it's time to just chat a little bit and talk through what I've seen and what I've heard from other real estate agents out there. And it's kind of the same as what I've been preaching for a while now, in that this market is a little bit confusing and it can be challenging to fully grasp. However, everything always comes back to the specific house here in real estate, especially in this market. We are in a time where real estate is ultra house to house dependent. A few years ago in Seattle, a house that might have been a little iffy on some components or it has some question marks, maybe red flags, but it was still located in one of those top tier neighborhoods, it would have no problem selling quickly. Now, what I'm seeing out there and hearing out there is that these homes, they really do have to be in good condition. And if they aren't in that tip top shape, well, unless you have fully understood that and listed it low enough to where the value is clearly there for a buyer, even if you're in an amazing home, even if you're in an amazing neighborhood, you might struggle to sell that property quickly. In the current market, buyers, they're picky. They aren't rushing into decisions. So that is why, as a seller, you have to make sure you've got your house in that great shape if you are actually looking to sell for top dollar. Otherwise, you just need to understand that and you need to price low enough to attract a buyer to be willing to take a dive into purchasing your home that has some red flags and some issues because the buyers are picky. They want perfect or they're going to want a deal. Now, just because those buyers are pickier and a little more cautious and might think they have the advantage over sellers, that's not always going to be the case because, again, it's house to house dependent. And if a house is in tip top shape, extremely desirable area, property size that is popular, it can lead to multiple offers. There was a property that got listed in Maple Leaf a month or so ago, which is a desirable neighborhood just north of the Roosevelt area and UW area. And it was a great looking home, good size, nice backyard. It was listed, if I remember correctly, at about 1.25 million, and it garnered 26 offers and ended up selling for above 1.6 million. Now, that was a property that got listed below market value and was a great looking house. So it created a real buyer frenzy and led to people falling in love with the home. And what have I said before here on the radar? There are a lot of people in Seattle with a lot of money. So if that's you, and if you fall in love with a house, you're going to end up doing whatever you can to buy that specific house because you fell in love with it. And so, as you hear from what I've detailed today, this is an odd market. Some neighborhoods and homes will be much more favorable sellers markets, while others are going to lean much more towards a buyer's market. It all depends on what area you're looking at and what your price point is. Now, that is all the time I've got for y'all today. As always, if you have any personal questions or any follow up questions from what I discussed here today, feel free to reach out to me. I am always happy to chat. But until then, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Nathan Mathisen. Till next time, peace.